In this video, we're going to discuss political philosophy, which is the study of politics, how the government came to be. What is the best type of government? What is the best form of government? Where does the government come from? Why do we need the government? What is the purpose, the function of the government? What are the limits of the government? What is the government can tell you to do and not to do? This section also covers justice. How should we distribute burdens and resources of society? Pretty much everyone agrees the main reason why we need a government is because of law and order. Imagine one day after work on your way home, the news broke out, the government of the United States no longer exists. No Supreme Court, no judges, no Congress. The government is just gone. This means no police officers, no laws because there's no government, and no law enforcement. You see, what would you do? How would you get home? For some people, this wouldn't really matter. They would probably stay home. Their virtue, morality, their behavior wouldn't change. For others, it probably would be like the purge. They would probably go outside and hunting and killing and ravaging people. So we need a government because of laws and order laws. If there's no government, there can't be laws, and we need a force. We need people to enforce our laws. Where does the government come from? If you go all the way back in time, agriculture seemed to have something to do with that. Human beings used to live in tribes, groups of people, and our ancestors, they were nomadic. They didn't settle down. So they would simply run around hunting animals. Slowly, slowly, eventually, some groups, some tribes began to settle down and engage in farming and agriculture. Let's say your tribe settled down, and because of that, you begin to farm and you have grains and cattle and land. And once you engage in agriculture, you can't move around because if you have a garden, if you have a farm, you move, then somebody else is just gonna take it. So you have to stay there to protect what you have. So your tribe settled down, has cattle and grains and food and all that. My tribe has not settled down yet. And while we're running around, we notice this group of people, they have all the stuff, grain, cattle, and we could take them by force. So what do? We decide to simply invade your tribe. So in the ancient times, there were a lot of war tribes, a lot of war tribes. In fact, tribes became bigger by conquering other tribes. There was a lot of mutual enslavement happening back then. Now, if my tribe conquered your tribe, the rules were simple. Simple. All the men will be killed. All the men will be slaughtered. The children will become slaves, and the women will be raped and become slaves. There was slavery before human beings even could read, could write. Slavery was already there, and it wasn't based on race. Warfare, if I conquer your tribe, again, the men will be slaughtered, killed, the women will be raped, made slaves, the children will be made slaves. So eventually my tribe got bigger and bigger and bigger. This is why when the tribe got bigger, so what is it they did? They decided to build a city. And realize all cities back then, they have big walls, thick walls to protect them. Because they knew, again, if another tribe conquers them, the rules were simple. Again, all the men will be killed, all the children will be made slaves, all the women will be raped and made slaves. You couldn't call 911 yet. There were no human rights yet. So we had to wait and wait and wait, and eventually invented those things. So again, there was a lot of mutual um, enslavement back then. Now, even the earliest forms of government, uh, they were terrible. But any form of government is actually better than no government. Any form of government is better than no government because, again, it creates some safety. Safety. The government exists between pretty much oppression and absolute freedom. We sometimes may think the more freedom we have, the better it will be. Actually, that's not the case. The government, by definition, has to curb, limit freedom. When it does that too much, it becomes oppression, and that's a problem. No one can be free absolutely. Absolute freedom means I do whatever I want, you do whatever you want. If you have a gas station, I want it, I take it. If you have a wife, I want her, I take her. Whatever I want, I do. Of course, if I take your gas station, then somebody else who's stronger than me, see, can take the gas station. This means no one is strong enough to be free completely. No one. No matter how strong, how powerful, how skillful you are, 5, 10 more people can get together and pretty much overpower you. So the government has to find this balance. If it takes too much freedom away, it becomes oppression. But if people become too free, too free, too free, it becomes lawlessness and chaos. So the government, by definition, has to limit personal freedom. But by limiting personal freedom, the government creates greater social freedom. Notice, you can't build a highway by yourself. You're just one person. The internet, you can't build it by yourself. Airplanes, you can't build them by yourself. So by limiting personal freedom, this led to greater social cooperation. This means more people can get together and create bigger things, greater things. So again, we limit personal freedom. That's why there's cooperation. That's why there's the highway. That's why there's space travel. That's why there's the internet. And notice, internet, the highway, those things eventually they sort of return and give you more freedom. Again, personal freedom, you limit that to create social freedom. Social freedom then allows us to cooperate and build greater things. And those greater things now come back, and allow you to have more freedom. Notice then, even if the government doesn't send you a paycheck every single day, the government has already done a lot for you because the government creates safety. Safety. You can go back and forth and live your life. If there's no government, why would I go to Miami, Boca, California? Anyone could capture me back then, and next thing I know, I find myself in a slave market. And I can't call 911, I can't call anyone to say, come rescue me. So the fact that there's safety, stability, you go back and forth, you live your life. Again, that's already a lot, a lot. So that's why I say pretty much any kind of government, even if it's oppressive, it's better than no government because if there's no government, there are no laws. And if there are no laws, you see, you can't have a group of people forcing laws. Why? Again, there are no laws. Um, Plato thought the best form of government is a meritocracy. Meritocracy. Democracy is not good. Is the rule of the mob, the rule of the masses, the rule of the unintelligent, unthinking, irrational people. The best form of government is meritocracy. He thought the government should be like the soul. The soul has three parts. The government has the soul. The government should have three parts as well. Meritocracy, the soul has reason, spirit, appetite, three parts. He thought each one of them, when it's working properly, has its own distinct virtue. The virtue of Reason is wisdom. The virtue of spirit is courage. The virtue of the appetite is moderation. So the same way the soul has three parts, the government should also have three parts: philosopher kings, the guardian, military, or workers. In this system, justice is when each one of them, the same way justice for the soul is when each one of them is working properly, each part of the soul. Likewise, justice in the government is when each branch is working properly. Now, in this system, no one goes up and down. Let's say you are a shoemaker, or a baker, or a carpenter, that's your job. You can't become a philosopher king. He thought some people, by definition, based on your talents, there are certain things you're good at. Again, if you're good at making shoes, make shoes. If you're good in carpentry, just do that. But it's wrong for you to become a philosopher king, even if you don't have the wisdom for that. The military, after a long time of training, some of them could be promoted. But if you are a worker, stay in your class. Soldier, stay in your class. But the children themselves, they can go up and down. If a child was born at the bottom class and the child is intelligent, is bright, the child can do science, music, geometry, they will promote the child to the class of the philosopher kings. If a child was born up here, they try to teach math and poetry, all the sciences to the child, but the child's not getting it. Let's say the child wants to play sports, then the child will be demoted to the lower class. So children can go up and down depending on how smart they are, but the parents, you pretty much stay in the class. This is a way to control grade. Because the workers, they work, whatever they want, give that to them. You have to allow them to have whatever they want so they can be motivated to work. If they want gold, silver, land, private wives, pleasure, give whatever they need, whatever they want, so they can be motivated to work. And the guardians, again, their purpose is to simply protect the city, protect the state. The philosopher kings, they read books, they develop the wisdom necessary to make good decision for the state. So again, this is a way of preventing unqualified people from coming to power. If you're a car maker, sorry, a boat maker, shoemaker, carpenter, sailor, fisherman, that's what you do. Do it. You're not allowed to be promoted up here if you don't have the qualifications necessary for that job. Now, Socrates is slowly explaining this. Then somebody objected and said, well, okay, this will not work because if you give workers land and private wives and husbands and gold, they become powerful. What if they want power? Not only that, the philosopher kings, since they simply think and think and think and read books, try to make good decisions for the state, it seems boring up here. Life is no fun. But down here, these people again have land, they have pleasure, they have music, poetry, dancing, after they have everything. Life is more fun. What if they want to go up? Then Socrates came up with the idea of a noble lie. Noble lie. That is, the first class, the philosopher kings, have to lie to everyone else. They have to tell the other classes a beautiful story as to why they should accept their position. We will tell them when the gods made us, in some souls, the gods put iron or brass. That's why these people are fit to be workers. In some souls, the gods put silver. That's why these people are brave. You see, their duty, their purpose, their function is to protect the state. And in some souls, the gods put gold. That's why these people have wisdom, the philosopher kings. In other words, again, the philosopher kings, the first class, will tell a lie to everyone so everyone can accept their position in society. It's called a noble lie. They're not lying because they want gold and silver. In fact, if you recall, when we discussed the story of the cave, the philosopher king is the man who broke out of the cave, who been outside and saw the sunlight. He gained wisdom. So he came back into the cave to break the chains of the other people inside the cave. So the philosopher king is not worried about gold and silver and money. That's not what he wants. He's running, well, he's the philosopher king out of compassion because he wants to help the state. Plato said, if these people don't become king, if we allow the workers, people with no qualifications, to become king, then see, the state will suffer. The state will suffer. If good men, if wise men don't rise up and control the government, control the state, then unqualified people will do so. Therefore, he said, there will never be any peace in the world, any peace, unless philosophers become kings, unless kings become philosophers, because we are being driven, governed by the wrong people. So, the philosopher king then, for the sake of peace, stability, cooperation, so everyone can accept their position in society based on your qualifications, based on your skills, based on your talent, they will tell them a lie. So each one can accept their position. Don't question things, accept your position. Again, the guardians, after a long time of training, some of them can be promoted. Interestingly, Plato thought actually both men and women actually they can be philosopher kings. So the main criterion is that you need to have wisdom in order for you to become a king. So people have been discussing this forever. Under what conditions, for what reason should the government lie to the people? For peace, stability, cooperation, or Plato said there are some position in society the wrong people cannot have them. So you have to lie to them so you can accept the position again based on talents, based on qualification, do your job. So in the system, greed is a good thing in the sense that you can use greed to motivate the workers. Again, whatever they need to be happy, give that to them. But the people running the country, the rulers, they shouldn't be driven by greed. Greed is something that should permeate the lower classes so you could use it again as a source of motivation so they can keep on working. So most people, well, one more thing, uh, the philosopher kings, they don't work. The military class, they don't work. Only one class is working to provide all the resources for everyone else. Only one class is working. So that's why you need to give them anything they want so they can keep on working. This system, many says, okay, it creates inequality because only one class is working, the other classes are not working. In other words, it's pretty much communism, socialism for the first two classes because those classes they don't have to work. Also, it's authoritarianism in the sense that your children basically you won't have to raise them. You may not have to raise them. Again, if a child is really, really brilliant, they're gonna take the child away from you and place the child in a different class. And if you're really smart, brilliant person, but your child is not, they're gonna take the child away from you and put the put the child in a different class. Also, you can't really move up. Like, children can move up and down, but the parents, again, once you're a worker, you're just a worker. If you're a soldier, again, maybe after again 20, 25 years of training, you can move up. But again, that's 20, 25 years of training. So social mobility is difficult to have here in that system. Now, Plato himself thought, well, this system will not work. And aristocracy or meritocracy, when you take the best men and women and you train them for the purpose of government, it will not work eventually, ultimately, because um, it's based on a lie. You have to lie to people so they can accept their position. He thought eventually, even if you have a system run by the most qualified people, eventually it will break down into a timocracy. Government by men motivated by a love of honor rather than by the love of the common good. The government should be for the love of the common good. Okay? But eventually it's going to break down. Or it could lead to an oligarchy, government ruled by a few rich, powerful people. Or it could lead to a plutocracy, a government ruled by men, government or ruled by men who primarily want wealth, which is money. And if you push it, he thought the worst form of government is democracy. And democracy ultimately leads to tyranny, when the people elect a strong man, and and they're selfishly hoping to gain from the government of this strong person, and this tyrant will end the evil of democracy. Now I'm going to stop this lecture right here right now, because what I want to discuss next time is the reason why Plato and Socrates thought democracy was the worst form of government. Okay, because in America, that's what we have. We have a democracy. But if you think about it, some would say, well, is it really a democracy or is it an oligarchy? Rule government by the few. The Bush family run the country for a long time. Um, the Clinton family run the country for a long time. Or is it a plutocracy, where wealth is the primary thing that the rulers want? But again, what I will discuss next time, hopefully face to face, is why Plato and Socrates, they thought democracy really is not the best form of government, is the last one. Eventually, democracy will lead to authoritarianism. So for them, again, an aristocracy or meritocracy is the best form of government.